Hi, my name is Ada Babineaux. I'm the founder and director of the San Antonio Black International Film Festival, and I am sure that you just enjoyed the wonderful presentation that we have just featured. April is National Child Abuse Month, so presenting Lalo's House by Kelley Kali. Her harrowing film on child trafficking is a very fitting film to bring awareness to the neglect and criminal abuse of our children as one example of the horrible atrocities that occur around the world. So this is one story. There are many more to be told, but we are very happy to have presented Lalo's House. And joining me in our SABIFF studio is filmmaker Kelley Kali. She's a native Los Angeles, California born resident and fellow Howard University alum and USC School of Cinematic Arts alumni. And Kelley's on a mission to create stories that have positive social change and impact the lives of others. And we will also be joined by my good friend, Shawande T'Chawa of Raceman Telepictures and fellow, again, Howard alum and filmmaker, who's also TDing or technical directing our interview today. So Kelley, welcome. Shawande, welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming aboard. I always like I mean, a lot of times we only see films when we go to film festivals. So it's important to me as someone who curates films for for our SABIFF, to bring awareness to just very progressive filmmakers and films that definitely need to be seen to a wider audience. So we hope to continue to do that as we move forward. But I want to just say in 2018, Kelley wrote and directed Lalo's House, which went on to win numerous awards, among them the 2018 45th Annual Student Academy of Motion Pictures and DG Directors Guild Student Award. Is that true that you were the first Black woman to win this award?
Yeah, for narrative. At the Student Academy Awards, it's been how many years? It's approaching 50 years of this award, and Spike Lee won it. The Robert Zemeckis won. There's a lot of people, but there's been men, but there haven't been Black women to win in the narrative category. There's been Black women to win in the documentary category, but not narrative fiction.
Well, thank you for clarifying that for me, but definitely wake up, Motion Picture Academy. But anyway, so let's go back to Howard. When you were at Howard University, tell us what you studied and how you ventured over to film, which probably wasn't even remotely in your career orbit as a student. So how did that come about in terms of moving from your major to film?
Yeah, I didn't know you can major in film. I did have this one friend, LaRon Lee, who is still a filmmaker. His films are fabulous. He's a Howard filmmaker, but I remember he was a year ahead of me, and I remember being a freshman and seeing this guy dragging like camera equipment around campus all the time, and I was like, what is he doing? And I still didn't know you could major in that. Like, I never put it together. So I focused in archaeology. I was in the anthropology department in Douglas, and my focus was in archaeology. So I did that for a while, and Howard did phenomenal work for the students. I got to go and excavate in Belize, so in Central America, for months at a time. We pitched a tent, dug a hole. They brought a few select students with them, and we excavated ancient Mayan sites. And then here in the U.S., Howard sent me to excavate Buffalo Soldier sites in Texas, in the Guadalupe Mountains in Texas. And then they also sent me to speak at the National Association of American Archaeologists, the Society of American Archaeologists. And it's the largest archaeological convention in the United States. And it was me and like two other Howard students. And we were like the only Black people there talking about archaeology. So that was it. But on one of my digs, there was a documentary crew. there. And the documentary team didn't really understand what was happening in the from the archaeological perspective. And so I helped to formulate questions for them to help the story move along. And I didn't realize at that time that's associate producing. I didn't know what, I was just helping. And then I realized that my questioning is what shaped the storyline for the movie. And the movie went on to win all these awards. And I was like, huh.
Wow.
Maybe.
Was that Toriano Berry?
It wasn't. I worked with him later. I worked I worked with him later. No, this was a documentary called Untold Stories. It actually won a Paul Robeson Award and like did very well. But it was that made me want to see if I can combine my anthropological background with storytelling. And so I got internship at National Geographic Television and Film, but I couldn't, first of all, it was really hard to get that internship. I called every day hounding them because they only took communications majors. And I was anthropology, and I kept saying, listen, but I know how to do research. I have my National Archives researcher's pass. I can do this. And so they finally brought me in, and they brought me into the development and editorial department. That just solidified my interest right there with combining stories of substance with entertainment. And that's what, but I had to do an extra year at school because I couldn't get that elite internship without being enrolled, and I was already graduating. And thank God I played lacrosse for Howard. And so I was on full scholarship, and the NCAA will pay for an extra year for their athletes. So they paid for an extra year, and that extra year changed my life because I was done with everything. So I had to take classes in the School of C, which were film classes that I didn't know existed. And it changed. And that's where I met Professor Berry. That's where I met Professor Sanders and Williams and like everyone over there. And it just changed. That 1 year changed the full trajectory of my life. And I have been combining my anthropological background and film ever since.
Wow. And that is, your path was already formulating perfectly in alignment back then.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. So how did you get to Haiti in the first place? I mean, how did that come about, you even venturing off to Haiti?
So after I had gone to Belize again, separately with Professor Berry to direct the first dramatic Creole series, No Matter What, then I came back to the U.S. and I started working for behind the scenes PBS documentary, another Howard contact. Professor Rocky Jones got me that job, and I was directing the behind the scenes for his Bill Duke documentary. And then I moved back to LA, where I'm from, and Bill Duke got me a lot of like work out here, like just shooting docs and stuff for him and things like that. But then I got hired at Entertainment Tonight, and it was cool. It was so cool because I got to go to Prince's house and watch him give a private concert to for his friends. Like Sylvester Stallone was there, Eddie Murphy, Johnny Gill, Christina Milian, everyone was there. Puff Daddy, everybody was there. It was a private party that only ET had access to, and I'm like hanging out there. I got to go ride roller coasters with Mariah Carey and Nick Cannon when they got engaged because they rented out the whole park, and I'm like sitting behind them on coasters, and like it was really cool. But I was moving away from stories of substance. You know, like ET is fun and entertaining. That's what it is. But it wasn't. I didn't feel like I was fulfilling my anthropological needs and desires, and so I had a friend who was like, I was really going through a dilemma of like, what path do I take at this point? Like, how do I get back to who I am? And I had a friend who reminded me that I am passionate about children's rights and just like reviewing the things that, and I had a lot of friends from Haiti. And we all just started discussing like the children's rights and living conditions there, and then just maybe just go take a trip and just get back to your ethnographic research. So I went there, just to study children's rights and living conditions. And that was before the earthquake. Then the earthquake happened. I went back to help. And when I was there helping, I caught wind of this Catholic orphanage where the nun was allegedly allowing foreign men to come in and have sex with the little girls. And so that started my research and investigation of that. And over 7 years of investigating her, that footage got me into USC. It was really dangerous. I'm going back and forth by myself, no security like that, because she was more of a mafia queen. And I couldn't find her ordained by any church or anything like that. She was just posing. And so, according to the people in the village. And so that footage is what got me into USC. At USC, my faculty there were like, look, you've got enough information to write this as a fiction narrative. You don't need to keep going back and putting yourself in danger. You can take the truth that you have and incorporate it into story form and treat it like a blood diamond, like with Leonardo DiCaprio and like, you know, or like Beasts of a Nation with Idris Elba, where you kind of Trojan horse this information that would normally not be palatable to people. Like nobody's like waking up being like, I think I want to watch something on child trafficking or child soldiers. Like you don't, but you get, when the way they package it through entertainment, you don't realize that you're learning things. And so that's what USC taught me to do, is to Trojan horse information that people tend to, I don't want to say like run from, but people have so much stress in their life already that when they're looking towards entertainment, they're not really looking to be stressed. Okay. So you have to make this information that's important to get out entertaining. And that's what I was taught. And that's what, how Lalo's house came to be.
So I'm just curious. I mean, there's a lot there that I just want to pick apart, but I'm just curious. So when you said you got wind of it, were you just sitting out having tea? I mean, how did this come to you?
It's a whole other story. Good question. Most people skirt over that. So I was just there helping, right? And there were these doctors, well, it was a nurse really, who told me, she's like, you're a filmmaker? Oh my God, you need to talk to the doctors I was working with. And they came across this orphanage where it's very suspicious. They don't think that this nun is a nun. She's been giving them a really hard time. So apparently there was this baby. Okay. So when the earthquake happened, a whole bunch of nosy foreigners came to Haiti, just nosy, just knocking on it. You okay? You okay? Hey, everything okay? So like if you was doing some dirt, it was kind of hard to hide it because now the world is looking at you, right? So these doctors kind of came into this orphanage unsolicited, you know, just to make sure everybody's okay. And they start to see that these kids were suffering from malnutrition. So they're like, the earthquake didn't do this. This has been going on. And here's the thing, is that people think Haiti, they're like, oh, poor, impoverished. Of course, there are malnutrition children around. And it's like, nah, y'all, the orphanages are regulated. There is an organization that spends its life regulating these orphanages to make sure that the children are good. And it's these unregistered orphanages that pop up and take advantage of families that, so a lot of these kids aren't orphans. They have parents. It's just that the parents can't afford to feed them. And when that happens, they'll take them to a local orphanage in hopes that the kid will get fed every day. And Haiti is a predominantly Catholic country. A lot of people associate it with voodoo and all of that. And while that still exists, the country is like 90% darn near Catholic. So when they see an orphanage under a Catholic name, that is trust already. They see a nun, trust already. Right. So they're going to give their kids up to orphanages like that and not even know that there's research to be done before dropping your kid off, because you just know that the nuns are going to take care. Like, why wouldn't nuns take care of the kids? You know? But in this case, this isn't another case of like the Catholic Church doing wrong. This is a case of fraud. They're not even ordained by anybody. So we can't even like blame the Catholic Church. Well, at least let me be clear. From my research, I couldn't find them ordained by anyone. And everyone in the village knew who she was before. And they're like, they called her the nun in the hot pants because she used to, I don't know if she prostituted or what. They kind of, they never really made that clear, but they said all of a sudden she became this nun, and they were very scared. Grown men were scared to talk to me about it because they said that she has paid people to kill people before. She's put hits on them, and that's why they called her more of a mafia queen. So anybody who interferes with her business. And
really,
yeah. So that's why
I'm just like, so here you are, a foreigner coming into a French-speaking country. Getting this information, no protection.
Nope.
What possessed you to move forward on this? I mean, I know you were anthropologist and passionate about children's rights, but what in you pushed you forward?
Girl, God, that's the only thing in this craziness. You know how you look back at your younger self and you're like, never again. I don't know. When you're younger, you're just like, I'm gonna go do it. And then as the years go by, you're like, whew, that was close. But yeah, I think it was naivety. I didn't realize the real business and danger I was dealing with. And as the years went on, I started to realize that this is a huge business. 150 God, I already forgot the statistic. It's on it is the second largest economic business in the world is child trafficking or just trafficking of humans in general.
That's not just in Haiti. That's
worldwide. And that's what I also want to make clear. That's one thing that Garcelle and Lisa and I always want to make clear is that this is not a Haitian problem. It just happened to be that my experience was in Haiti. That's where I happened to witness it. So me as a creative, that's where I wrote it from, that experience. But that's happening here in Los Angeles. That's happening in Texas. The border towns. That's happening all over the world. It is a huge business. Number 2 right now, but a lot of drug dealers are moving into human trafficking because the laws aren't as strict on human trafficking as it is on drugs. So
look what's just happening in Nigeria. I mean, over and over and over and over again, especially at the girls' schools. They've had boys kidnapped too, but yeah, it's everywhere. But
it's the laws aren't as harsh, so you don't get as much time. If you're caught with kilos of cocaine, they're going to get more time. But if you're caught with a child, you get way less time for human trafficking. And those laws have to change, and we've got to recognize that. And so it's less risk. A lot of drug dealers are moving out of the drug business into human trafficking because the consequences aren't as harsh if you're caught. And secondly, the product can be reused over and over again. Once you sell the drugs, it's gone. You got to go get more. If you have a camp of children or young girls or adults, it doesn't matter who you're using. They even use men as labor and sell them. So it is modern day slavery, and there's more slaves today than ever in history of what we know as enslavement. This is an underground slavery that all of us stand up against in history and say how horrible slavery is, but we are so naive and blind to the way the system works today because it's not shackles and chains and whips, but it is mind control and drug addiction use, like they get them shot up and things like that. Girl, it's a huge system. So I didn't know that's what I was getting myself into. I didn't know how in danger I was when I was doing it. And as I gathered more and more information, I started to realize like, this isn't smart. And that's when USC, I made it there, and they were like, there's a way you can get this information out safely. You've already done the legwork.
But you still shot it there. you still
Yeah.
out there. So my thing is, it's just like, so what? I'm like, so people knew about it.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what type of power did this woman have over the people other than money and to kill, to have people? I mean, she must have really had.
She's very connected to powerful people. So she got arrested briefly, and then I don't know if she paid off the police or whatever, but she got released. Again, it's not like I ever sat down and had an Oprah interview with the woman. Like, this is all her surrounding people that are from those areas that know of her, and she's so popular that I promise you, if someone from Haiti was listening to this interview, they probably know who I'm talking about, because she got some national news press when she got arrested. But here's the thing. She's not the only one.
Right.
She's one that got exposed. She's not like this anomaly.
Yeah.
You know? And so she knows some people higher up, and she claims her innocence and all of that. And I don't want to convict anyone. I just know what I saw, and I know what people have testified to, and I know that there's a lot of questions in there. A lot of stuff that just doesn't look right, but she has the right people around her to pull her out. So she's still out there, and who knows I'm doing what. So when we had to shoot, we had to be very careful, because word in Haiti travels really, really quickly. People know. And so especially shooting with Garcelle Beauvais and Jimmy Jean-Louis, and having his kids are the stars. Like Garcelle Beauvais and Jimmy Jean-Louis are the two biggest actors out of Haiti, arguably. There's some really big actors out of Haiti, but I would argue that they are probably the most popular, especially Garcelle. And then we had Paul Beaubrun, who is even bigger than them. Walking through the airport, he did the music. He's the one who did the Tis Oiseaux song and the Marissa Alou at the very end of the movie. His family is to Haiti what the Marleys are to Jamaica. His parents are bigger than him. So like he's a superstar. Walking through the airport with, oh my God, it was chaos. Walking through the airport with Garcelle was crazy. But when I had to come back with him when we were leaving, and it was just, they had to swoop us up and get us out of there and move us to a room, because he's so big. So it was hard to be low key filming there with names like this. And so we had to tell the crew, because we knew people were going to inquire, like, what's this about, to never mention the word child trafficking, because it's a business. And if the word gets out that we're doing something on that, who knows? Maybe they won't bother us. Maybe they will. But why test it? So we said, I told the team to say, if anyone asks, that this is a story about two little girls who need to find their way home. And that's it. And we're not, and we didn't film the harder scenes, the trafficking portion of the movie. We didn't film that in Haiti. We built those sets, interior sets in Los Angeles, just to have a safe environment, because we didn't want anyone getting photos of the scenes and and it getting out that this is a child trafficking movie, because we can't predict
what would happen,
or if it would trigger anyone, or if they would even know who it was inspired around. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, so we were really, really careful.
Girl, just hearing this is like chilling. So so you said that Garcelle Beauvais, I want to just let folks know who she is. She's the co-star of Jamie Foxx show. For US, for those who know, Jamie Foxx show, the comedy, and also NYPD Blue. She's a former model. She's been on a number of other productions, and she's Haitian, but she's gotten into a lot of the commercial Hollywood type of productions here. So you said that her and her partner, Lisa Wilson, and their production company, Beauvais Wilson Productions, are the ones who breathe life into your project. So Tell us about that, because you went there with like, oh, I'm gonna tackle this, but you ain't had no goddamn money. So
Right.
how did you even connect with her and get in to get her the script? I mean, how did you do all that?
So I used my Howard connections and USC too, but I asked everyone, like when they were like, well, who's going to play the nun? I was like, Garcelle Beauvais has to play the nun. That's who I wanted, because this nun, the real nun, is so charming. She is so charming. And it's like, people always think that the like traffickers and drug dealers and stuff are like these bad, like, it's like, no, they're usually very nice, charming people. And that's how they get away with what they're doing. And so I was like a perfect person that would be so unassuming, because she never plays or never really, not really has played a villain to this level, you know? And so I was like, it'd be very misleading when people see her in a nun outfit. They're just going to think she's helped the kids, you know? So I wanted her, and I didn't know her. So I asked everyone I knew. I asked everyone, did you know someone who might? Everywhere. Ended up being a Howard, somebody I knew from Howard, who actually went to USC Law School too. So it ended up being a Howard USC connection again, who he didn't know I was on. He was a producer on Fruitvale Station. And I was on the phone with him, and he was like, no, Kel, I don't know her. And this is where God comes in. At that moment, he gets a call from this Canadian producer, and he's like, wait, Kel, this guy calling me right now knows Garcelle. Let me call you back. And then so ended up talking to a gentleman named Marcel and his partner Howard, and they had happened to be out in LA, and so I got to meet with them and show them the pitch deck and the script, and they said okay, and they took a look at it, and then they hit me up a few days later and were like, we got Garcelle and she wants to meet with you. And so we met. And we met at the W Hotel. It was just her at the time, and I gave her the deck and the script. And she was like an angel walking in there. Like she was so just floated across the room. And then she took it, and then I didn't hear anything. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just not. And then she hit me back. She was like, Kelly, I want to do it. And but there's one catch. And I was like, well, what? Because I was asking her to act. She's like, me and my producing partner want to executive produce this. And I was like, yeah, thank you. And then so she helped with all the funding, because she was like, we have to shoot this in Haiti, because I couldn't afford shooting in Haiti. I was trying to find these little backyards in LA to try to look like Haiti. I was like trying to see the cost of like goats and stuff. Like it was it would have been not that great. And Garcelle was like, I think we're gonna have to go to Haiti. And then, and another thing that she brought was, I was debating, there was a debate. Do we Disney-fy this movie by making them speak English with Haitian accents, so that more like Americans will take to, because we don't like to read. It's true. Everyone else in the world reads subtitles. Us, we're like, oh, subtitles. So anyway, I was like, well, do I do the Hollywood thing and have them talk in a Haitian accent, right? This was real discussions. I know this sounds like whack after a while, but this was real thoughts. And then I was like, well, me and my producer, who's French, she was like, well, no, you need to at least have it in French. Like, it can't be English, Kelly. If they're going to be speaking, it needs to at least be French. And then I'm like, okay. And the Garcelle's like, nah, this is supposed to be in Creole. A language that none of us spoke. So first it was English, which we all spoke, which was like, okay, we can handle this, especially in directing. Then it was French, which I study and I know enough of to feel comfortable directing it in French. I was like, I could do that. Then here comes Garcelle, like, nah, it's about to be a Haitian Creole. And we're all looking like, hey, none of us speak Creole. Because it's like, and it's different. Like there's similarities, but it's very different. So like in French, if you're hungry, you say like je faim, I'm hungry, you know. And then in Haitian Creole, you gotta excuse my accent because I'm extra California.
Yeah, you're good.
But it's like one gongu. It's so different. It's like the African dialects have like shifted into this like French African combo that is in the Creole variations differ from place to place. Like Gonaïve is very different from
Louisiana.
Yeah. So it's like we were like, we don't, the only person on set who spoke it was like Garcelle. We'll be going to Garcelle like, okay, they said this right? Like because ain't none of us, nobody. Oh, but see, that's not true. This was another blessing that happened and why this movie is what it is. USC was not excited about allowing us to go shoot internationally in a country that none of us were from, except for Garcelle, and the kids and Jimmy John Louis and stuff like that. But I mean, the kids are American too, but they had been because that's where their family's from and stuff. But it is, or was at least on the US top 10 do not travel list countries. And so USC is like, I don't think so, you know, because they let you shoot other places. But most people who do their thesis projects in other places are from those places. So they're going home to shoot. And so we're going to a whole nother place. And I said, well, look, if I can find a partner there too, that will like make you feel comfortable because we have eyes and ears on the ground. And so, girl, where the city I wanted to shoot in was Jacmel. It's my favorite city in all of Haiti. I just love it. And it's where all the artists are. It's just like, there's artists everywhere, but Jacmel is like the artist. And it just so happened, just look at God. The only film school in the entire country of Haiti is in Jacmel. And it's sponsored by the same people who sponsor USC, George Lucas and all these, they all pour money into it. So then it was the Cine Institute in Haiti. So we went and met with them and they were fantastic. And they're like, look, I asked if they can partner any of their students with us. So what ended up happening is we brought a skeleton team from the US. So I brought one sound person and then they paired a sound person with them. So they were partners. So we had American Haitian Alliance. Then the same with production design. We brought one production designer, then paired the team. And the same with like the camera department. They got to bring two people. They got to bring their AC and their gaffer. And then so their second AC and everybody else was grips. Everybody was the Cine Institute. And so we had the support of the most popular school in the area. So them wearing those Cine Institute shirts when we were out shooting just gave us credibility and safety. So they were looking out, and those students were so just brilliant. So they would be like, Kelly, she didn't pronounce it right. Or like they would come and whisper. Like, because I'm watching for performance and emotion.
Right.
Like I learned the Creole lines and I know what each line is saying. Like I did that much work that I like when they said those lines, I knew what they were saying in translation. But do I know the proper pronunciation? No. So there would be moments where I'm like, all right, cut. That's great. Like the performance, the heart was there. And then like one of the like Cine Institute students would come over and they'd be like, yeah, but that wasn't a word. Like they didn't, didn't pronounce it. It's not a word. You gotta do it again. And the little girls were amazing. So like they spoke, Jimmy speaks Creole in that house. Their mom is from Seychelles. So there's a type of, it's a Francophone area too, off the coast of Madagascar. And so they have a form of Creole too. It's not the same Creole, but they can understand each other. And so it's not like the kids haven't heard Creole before. They just speak back in English or they know more French than they do the like Creole speaking part. They like if their parents speak to them in Creole, they're gonna answer them. They know what they're saying. But the kids themselves had to learn the Creole. And so they did phenomenal, and they didn't learn it in piecemeal. They weren't like saying a sentence and we cut. Those kids were doing the whole scene. They
Wow.
were just phenomenal.
Yeah, they would those girls were awesome. They
Yeah,
really
and
were.
the littlest one was 5 years old, for like true five, like really five.
Wow.
She wasn't like 8 playing 5 or whatever. She was a 5-year-old.
Wow.
And then the
What was it
oldest.
like working with the kids? Because I wanted to talk about what it was like working with the crew, but the cast of kids. Because I thought Sankofa was the first Pan African crew. Because we were in Ghana, we had Burkina Faso crew, we had Puerto
Yeah,
Ricans, we had Americans. But
yeah,
you worked it, girl. You worked it.
yeah.
But what was it like working in a different environment with actors that speak different languages? I mean, how was that for you every day when you go back at the end of the day and you had to start fresh again? How was that for you, just achieving this monumentous
Yeah, girl, it was
feat?
hard. It was challenging, but the thing that made it easier was the attitudes, like the positive attitudes on set, that we can all figure this out together. It was more of the team effort that
Mhm.
that made it easier. But there's look, our littlest one, again, she's a 5-year-old. First day of shooting, it's hot. She's got mosquito bites, dude. Like, you forget how much you get bit as a kid. I don't know, like, and bites as a kid are like more intense. They like itch. It's all new to you. Life is new. And so like these
Yeah.
mosquito bites were just all over her. And no matter how much repellent we put on this child, and she was itchy, she was hot, she was running around in
Oh,
little schoolgirl costume.
yeah.
Man, we did 4 takes, and that little girl got in the van, because we had to have vans with AC on all the time because we had to be portable and move around. She got in the van with the AC, and she would knock it off. And see, we followed rules and regulations of the United States. So we brought a studio teacher.
Good.
We followed all the rules. So even though like the parents were like, "Sweetheart, please get off the van," but in their real, if there was, they would have been like, "Get your butt off this van." But
Right.
the studio teacher was like, "If she don't want to get off, she can't. She doesn't." And she was so smart. She's like, "It's hot." She's like, "I'm not running anymore." And so that whole day of production gone. Cost
Mm,
us like, we lost about $1,200 from that day, which is
mm.
significant for a short film. And so we had to shoot on a day that was an off day that was scheduled to try to make up for it. Crew got sick because they didn't follow directions. All of us who have been traveling before told them what not to eat. Don't eat
Not
salad.
drinking the waters, yeah.
Don't eat salad that's been washed with local water. You haven't adjusted to the local water yet. Like, just
Girl.
be easy where you getting stuff. Man, people got sick.
We got that in Sankofa, same thing. Yep.
My producer was gone.
Yeah.
Day one of production, he wasn't there. It was just me, because I stayed up the entire night helping him with. He was so sick, so I didn't get any sleep. And then our production designer got sick. Our script supervisor got sick. Girl, it was like they was dropping like flies. And
But this is things that behind the scenes, like everybody's like, oh, film, oh, you want awards. But behind
yeah,
the scenes, the challenges that you have to overcome as a producer and a director to get
is
this to editing, to get to the screen is just, I mean, these memories bring back like real time, huh?
yeah, man. It was work, and
Yeah.
then it's loud in Haiti. So where you think you're trying to get nice recording for it, there's like motorcycles that are going by constantly, and then there's like a goat shouting through your lines, like, and then there's like this, like, you just you're like, and then you got to remember they're trying to remember a foreign language line. So when they get the line and then there's a goat shouting through it, you're like, oh, and you're working with kids, and kids, get tired faster, and they have less hours you can work with. You can't work a full day with kids. And because we were following rules and regulations, we couldn't cheat. There was no child, like, can you imagine? We're doing a movie on child trafficking, and we're like violating child labor law. So we had to follow rules. We couldn't
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
girl, this sounds like a fiasco for you. Oh my
it
God.
felt like a feature film. We used to joke and say Lalo's House, the shortest feature film ever made, because it was so taxing and hard and hot and it just felt like what it would feel to shoot a feature, like Did
you bring any of your moral support with you? Or were you like, because I usually the director may bring a family member or somebody that they can like vent to in the evening when production try to. Was there anybody? Was your husband with you? Was anybody with you?
No, I wasn't married yet. I was engaged, but he had got a job in New York.
Oh, okay.
And so I was alone. My friends, I would say, who was my support system the most in Haiti was my co-producer Victor, the one that got sick, and my DP, he's been my ace since Mai is with me all the time, like even on these new projects. Like he was the one that was going to shoot I'm Fine, Thanks for Asking originally, but then got pulled off like a few days before for this HBO feature, and then we got blessed with Becky. He's the one who brought Becky on.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was them. And Garcelle and Lisa were very supportive, but we were in different hotels. And Jimmy Jean-Louis was very supportive too, but we weren't in the same hotel. So my nighttime decompressing was either to Victor if he wasn't dying of food poisoning, or my DP, who I spent a lot of time with.
Bless your heart. So Lalo, tell us about the name and the meaning behind the name.
So there is a fictitious, a Haitian fictitious character named Fiet Lalo. And she, there's a song called Tis Oiseaux. And in the song, it's sung to Haitian children everywhere. It's kind of like our, I don't know, Old MacDonald or Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's very, very common. And it says, little bird, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Lalo's house. No, don't go to Lalo's house. Lalo eats kids and will eat you too. And so when I first heard those lyrics, I was like, because my co-writer, she's the one, I was like, man, I need some, I was directing a documentary in China at the time. So I was like busy with that. And I was like, hey, could you just look up some Haitian children music? Because I was having to get that done at the same time. And she sent me these links to all these like Haitian songs. And then that's when I heard the Tis Oiseaux. And I was like, she eats kids. Man, we wrote the whole script. I rewrote the entire thing from scratch, based around this metaphor of this sort of witch character who lures children in and eats them, because that was basically what was happening with the child trafficking in this orphanage, is that she is in essence consuming the innocence of these little girls. And so I wanted her character to be parallel to this Fiet Lalo mythology.
Amazing. Amazing. So I know Jamie Foxx put some money into the film through Garcelle. So I think that sort of stuff is great. I think that actors here want more substantive projects like this to involve themselves in. It's just getting to them to get them to script. So it's just having that connection. So thank God that worked out, because this is an awesome.
I think that's the benefit of schools. You don't need to go to a school to be a filmmaker. You do not. Don't let anyone tell you you have to. The benefit of going to a school is for the network. So your tuition is paying for the network, because you are going to learn story and structure and all that. You are going to learn things about filmmaking. True. But ultimately, to me, an f-stop is an f-stop. You're going to learn about f-stops at USC and at a community college. Okay, that's just what it is. There's other little things that you're going to learn more at different schools, particularly story and story structure and stuff like that. But what you're really paying for, what I feel tuition is worth, is your network, the people you're going to school with, the faculty members who have won all kinds of awards, who have connections into all kinds of networks and things to get you going. And that's what Howard University has done for me, and that's what USC's done for me. And it was both schools that have helped me get in contact with people like Garcelle, who I normally wouldn't have had any way of reaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. So let's talk. I want first of all, did you premiere this in Haiti ever? Did it
Yeah.
premiere? And what was the response there? What happened
Oh,
after the
girl.
film was premiered?
It was an emotional room.
Wow.
It was a very different reaction in Haiti than it was in the US, because it's closer to home in Haiti. And so the conversation after its screening, I remember one woman standing up and saying, I didn't know this was going on here. Like, are you sure this is going on here? Like, I've never heard of this. I don't know. And then another girl stood up in tears and said, this 100% goes on here. I grew up in an orphanage, and she said, thank God this didn't happen to me, but I watched the girls laying next to me get picked up and go into rooms with men. She's like, and she's in tears. She's like, this 100% happens here. And it became this whole room discussion about like what to do and this, and it was a very powerful screening to see how the Haitian people received it, because that's who I cared about the most.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be some foreigner coming in there and like telling their story. So like I wanted, like, I did my best to tell it from the experiences that I witnessed from the years that I was there, you know, and some of the interviews that I gathered. But no way was I ever trying to depict Haiti as like, this is all this bad stuff happening there. Because Haiti is the most beautiful country on this earth. And if you are ever so blessed to go there, and the best food, oh my God, Haitian food. It is the best. Like, if you have not been to Haiti, you are missing out. Like, I love it there so much. And I just really wanted to do right by them. And I wanted to tell the truth. Like, I didn't want to sugarcoat anything, because I saw this happening. So presenting it to them really mattered. And then to see this reaction really hit home. And the U.S. ambassador was at the screening, and she stood up and she said, I'm going to fund this movie to go around the country to educate parents on bringing their kids to orphanages that aren't registered.
Wow.
And so they partnered with this Cine, Mobile Cine. It's this organization, because there aren't theaters everywhere in Haiti. There are very few. And so they have these pop-up theaters, and they go to rural areas where people would normally not be able to see movies, and they screen movies. And so the U.S. ambassadors partnered and funded that for the movie to go around and educate parents about watching out for unregistered orphanages if, heaven forbid, you ever have to give your kids.
That is wonderful. Girl, did the phony nun, I know you said she got arrested. Is she still in existence? I mean, is she still in, do you know? I mean, I know you.
I haven't checked as of late, but last I checked, she was working with someone in the government. So she was protected, but the government changes a lot. So I don't know if right now the same people that you know when you're there just a few years ago might have shifted. So I haven't followed up. I'm not so sure where she is. But when we were there last, she was just fine.
Wow. That's heart-wrenching. Heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, and this is why filmmakers coming up, there is power in film. There is power in your story, power in your narrative, and it can change and impact so many. So you are definitely, I don't know, you're on the right path. And to be able to combine your anthropological background and research to tell stories that impact and change in lives is awesome. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So I could just talk to you all day about that, but I wanted to take some time to mention your new project. I'm fine. Thanks for asking. This is something that you had me dying about, because you said you did it during the pandemic. And so tell us about your new project. It just premiered recently at South by Southwest,
Mm-hmm.
and is going to go on to do great things as well. And the area that it is in, it deals with homelessness. And so let's talk about that film and how that came about, and when, during the pandemic.
Yeah, so as the pandemic rolled on and we ended up in the summer, because remember they kept saying we're going to open up April 15th. It just kept going and going, right? So it was like late July, and I just woke up one day with this extremely pressing feeling of I have to make something, and I have to make something now, and I got to figure it out. So I called my girls from USC, Angelique Molina, who's my co-director on this movie, and Roma Kong, who's a co-producer with us. And I also called my writing partner, Dion Cole, and then also Capella Fahum, who's another. So that's been like the team of 5. But I went to my girls first, and I said, look, we got to make something. I got my stimulus check. I got some unemployment. Let's make a short. And they're like, yeah, I'm down, let's do it. And then I hang up the phone and I call them right back. And I'm like, you guys, we're kind of masters of short films. Like, we're really good at making short films. How about we use my money to make a feature film? They're like, you can't make no feature film on a stimulus check, Kelly. And I'm like, we can try. I'm like, we have, again, the network. So we could just ask our friends who are DPs, who are sound, who are this, if they would just jump on board with us, because there ain't nobody doing nothing right now. What they doing? They sitting at home. So if we could get them to come out and we spend the money on the rentals and insurance and on those things, then we might be able to pull this off. And so they were crazy enough to rock with it. And we came up, we started to, because Angelique and I, we both are very socially conscious filmmakers. And so we knew that we wanted, when we're talking to Roma, we knew that we wanted to come up with a subject that was affecting all of us right now during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I had noticed is that there were more women on the streets than ever before. Because here in Los Angeles, we have a huge homeless population. And I had seen so many more women since the pandemic. So we wanted to explore that and explore the concept of houselessness. People who are, most of us who are living from paycheck to paycheck, really felt the threat of being without a house during this pandemic. And some have ended up on couches in family members' homes or friends' homes, or are sleeping in their car temporarily, or maybe even having to pitch a tent somewhere temporarily. And so that's why we choose the word houseless in our synopsis, because it's about, we're looking at the demographic of people who are just short of being okay. Just like they just need that one little break.
Hey, beautiful, how you doing? You all right? You a preacher? This your church? I ain't never seen a reverend in skates.
Incoming call from Sugar Lips. Incoming call from Sugar Lips.
Going off because that's...
Incoming call from Sugar Lips. Call declined.
It's messed up. I apologize. It kept beeping.
Danny, girl, your crazy ass still skating.
What is up?
Oh man, I can't call it. How you doing?
I'm good, It's just me and Wes now.
It's too hot for hugging Mama.
That's a fair point. I got shorted today, and then that's why you see me going around doing post pals and everything, because I just need to get this apartment.
Where are my wontons?
I didn't see any wontons on your order.
Maybe you dropped them while you were skating.
I'm gonna be back at 5 o'clock, okay?
And then can we sleep inside?
Yes, of course we can sleep inside. Just kidding, because we always sleep inside.
So sorry about that. So the clip, we just threw a clip. I didn't mean to clip you in the midst of showing the clip. But yeah, go ahead and continue, because you were talking about the writing of it during the pandemic. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no. So that's so we ended up gathering our friends together. We had to keep the crew small because we were shooting at one of the heights of the pandemic in the summer. Like, the numbers were ridiculous. So we had to be very, very careful. We kept it to 10 or less. And by having to keep it to 10 or less, we had to have the crew also be the cast. And so, because we couldn't cast anybody. It was just not safe. So we decided that we would take that risk upon ourselves, and you'll see all of us in roles. And I mean, they did such a great job. I mean, most people don't even realize it's crew members jumping in these roles. But we did have some legit actors in there too. Dion Cole.
So how did he become? Did you know him? Did you know him? Okay.
He's my writing partner. So we met on a set of a Netflix feature in New York because I was from the Student Academy Awards. I was nominated internally at Netflix. I guess the movie Lalo's House had gone around, and they called me in to ask me to be the first director in their Directors Incubator program. And and so they sent me to New York to shadow a director, Leslie Small, and that's where I met Dion. And we started chatting it up about this idea he had that wasn't like he was pitching it, but nobody was really biting. And then he said it to me. I was like, oh yeah, I can see why. Because the story arc, if it's a positive story arc, then that means that this character needs to be here by this time. And And then he was like, will you write this with me? And then I was like, sure. So then we started writing together, and we've been writing partners for years now.
That's nice.
Yeah, and so we have a project with Macro now.
So you switched over acting, and also I guess when you were acting, you had your AD. I mean, your other co-director take over. That was Angelique.
Yeah.
You all did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
She was on camera the whole time, and I was watching from the inside. So it really made a really good team because she's watching frame, she's watching movement, and then I'm watching blocking because we didn't have a script supervisor. Mm-hmm. So continuity was hard, and we would miss things. So like I'd be watching for the blocking for some performances for, so together it really worked because we had outside and inside perspective, like eyes everywhere as directors.
No, you pulled it off during the pandemic on your stimulus check. So where can we see more of your works? Where can people see Lalo's House? Where can they get it to put out there in terms of bringing awareness to child trafficking? I know that I'm Fine is just starting, but how can we follow you?
Okay, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm very active on there at I am Kelley Kali. So that's KELLEY KALI. You can find me on Instagram. You can follow the new movie, Thanks for Asking, at Thanks for Asking Movie on Instagram. For Lalo's House to be able to see it again, right now it's only in festivals, but we are in talks of getting it on Amazon. So if you follow me, or Lalo's House has an Instagram page too, we will announce where you can view it soon. But as of right now, this is kind of an exclusive, being able to see it at San Antonio Black Film Festival. So for I'm Fine, we're screening at the San Francisco International Film Festival this Friday. We're screening at Seattle International Film Festival on tomorrow on Thursday, and then we're screening at Annapolis Film Festival on Friday as well. So in the Maryland area, DMV area, and you can get these tickets online at those festivals. And then on the 17th, we'll be in Florida for the Florida Film Festival.
Well, this will be an evergreen thing because our broadcast is going to go on YouTube. So a lot of times we won't be able to people don't do the film festival thing unless, now it's virtual. So you can follow it virtually. But outside of that, just follow Kelley. I am Kelley, right?
Yeah, I am Kelley Kali.
Kelley Kali.
Yep.
Yeah, I am on Instagram. And did you have a website page?
I do for the movie.
Just the movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Instagram's the easiest.
Well, girl,
way.
this has been amazing. I am so inspired by what you do and what you have yet to bring to our world. Because I know there's many more things brewing. Because I heard about the the next project that you're working on, the one in Louisiana?
Oh,
is that happening, or
that's in the works? I'm actually writing the book for that right now.
Okay.
So yeah, for it to be optioned.
Well, stay tuned. Thank you again. You are awesome. Continual prayers and blessings to you as you move forward with your career and bringing us socially relevant films that make a difference to our world. So thank you, Shawanda. Did you have any, you were being quiet in the back. Did you have any, anything you wanted to bring before we close?
Well, I did, but I can always talk to Kelly in private about it. Yeah, because I don't want to take up any time. But thanks, Kelly. It's good seeing you again.
It's great seeing you too.
All right.
Well, I just want everybody to continue to follow us on, where am I? Yeah, follow San Antonio Black International Film Festival. Our actual festival is September 30th through October 3rd. We will be virtually, prayerfully, we will have some events that can be physical by the fall. So definitely join us there, and our monthly screenings are at sabiff.tv. Thank you, my darling. We appreciate you. Thank you, Shawanda.
It's a pleasure.
And take care.
Thank you. Thanks, Ada. Thanks.